Hey everybody, thanks for joining us today. I'm here with Pastor Chad, lead pastor at Freedom Life Church, and we are discussing this last week's sermon. It was, I should say, the last Exodus sermon of our whole Exodus series, which was part 35.
The grand finale.
Bum, bum, bum. and we've only been on it for about it's part 35, but it's only been about a year.
With all the breaks in there, we didn't quite make a year. It's been about 10 months.
10 months.
I think we started in October of last year.
Someone told me it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, it probably felt like that to them. But no, so it took us about 10 months to get all the way through it. So
yeah. Well, we landed at the end of Exodus, in Exodus 40, and there was a lot of talk about the glory of God.
Mm-hmm.
And I was told that your sermon went about 50 minutes, which is, I think, third week in a row?
I think that...
Fourth week in a row?
I think that we shouldn't linger too long.
That's what they said.
On that. But it was long. But as Ryan, our media director, said, when it's a series finale, it's always a little longer.
Yeah.
It's true. And so when you're wrapping up a show, it's just kind of the way it works. And so when you're wrapping up a sermon series, you gotta have to do it the same way. I just did it multiple times leading up to the last one. I'm sorry.
It was the last month of the series.
Yeah.
So, in saying all of that, did you leave anything out that you wanted to put it into the sermon? This is kind of your last chance for Exodus, right?
Yeah.
Until we go again on it next year.
Yeah. Don't scare people. Not really. I felt like I pretty much landed exactly where I wanted us to land. I was very appreciative of the fact that the book of Exodus lands with the glory of God, filling his house and so it was kind of nice to look at it again from the standpoint of, yes, that means, just the church collectively, but it also means us, right. As individuals even. And so, I was really appreciative of that. And I knew that was coming because obviously this last sermon was certainly one that's been sitting there from the very beginning, patiently waiting its turn.
Yeah.
And so, it didn't ever move or adjust or anything like that. So, it was going to be what it was going to be for a really long time. Yeah. And so I was really thankful for it. But so no, I don't think that there was anything out there that I felt like I didn't cover because I really just wanted us to feel that it all leads and ends and goes towards the glory of God. So I think that we did a pretty good job at conveying that.
Yeah. Well, cool. Peace out, guys. That's the end of the video.
Which is so odd that I have nothing to. I can add more, but
what I was going to ask you, since it is the end of Exodus, this is literally the last part, unless we decide to go back, at some point, and obviously. In any of the sermons, we can always reference back to Exodus. Exodus isn't off limits, guys. Okay, we can.
Yeah, it's coming again later. Yeah.
So one of the things I would ask you is, through all of this entire Exodus series, and this is probably going to be a really, really hard theological question, but what's your favorite part during the entire thing?
Oh,
what was your favorite part, maybe to talk about?
That is really hard.
I told you. Hardest question the whole time.
Well, I will say that, and this is going to sound like a cop-out. I really think that I enjoyed just the overall flow of it. I think was cool for people to see. Mm-hmm. I will say that I really enjoyed the way that we had a chance to look at the Ten Commandments, because those are so popular or unpopular, depending on how you look at them. But we all know
popular
them.
Story.
We all know that that's sure. there, and so for us to be able to look at it maybe a little bit differently, I thought was a ton of fun. And so I really did enjoy that. Honestly, I actually really enjoyed even the very beginning of it, really setting up the story of the people of God. I thought was kind of fun to kind of help all of us see that this is not just this isolated historical story, but it's so connected even with us today. And so, but again, I think that was a general theme throughout the whole series, but that's why I think I liked it so much. I also will say, and so I have more than one favorite, but I also really enjoyed us having a chance to get into the back end of the book of Exodus, because most of us don't even know what's there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I love the opportunity we had to kind of get in on that end of it, just so that we could all see it, so that we could all experience, okay, after the Ten Commandments, after that moment, let's dig into some of these other things that are here. And so probably the saddest part for me with ending it, if I can throw in an extra thing here, I think the saddest part for me is there were, and I mentioned it on Sunday again, there were about 16 or so sermons that weren't there. Because originally it was going to be about 51 weeks, and then I think got it down to 40 at one point, and then we got it down to 35 when it was all said and done. And so there's I guess that's 14, I guess, if I'm doing my math right. I'm probably not, but there's a lot of stuff that's still in there that I wish we could go over. But I'm happy with where we landed. I'm happy with where we were the whole series. I'm really, really happy about that. But I hate to see it go, because there is so much more deep and rich things that we could talk about in the book of Exodus, and I think we will somewhere down the line if Freedom Life Church will continue to have me. I think we'll get back around to that at some point. To maybe tackle some of those other things that we didn't look at. And so, but there was a lot of really, really cool parts. And so,
Well, one of my favorite things was that our congregation actually stayed to the end.
Yeah.
They stuck with us through the entire series. This was a really, really long series.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel any pushback from anybody from the congregation. They really, really loved Exodus.
Well, and I think
that was our goal, is to go through the entire book and see where everybody's story is in that book, and then see where Jesus lies.
Well, and I definitely know that, I get questions about that all the time from other pastor friends that don't do long series. They also don't do a whole lot of book series, like walk through a book of the Bible type series like that. Yeah. And they're always like, how can your people deal with that or whatever? And I'm like, maybe they don't have a choice, but I think it's more just, I think the way I try to approach it, the way we try to approach it, is it's the Word of God. And so, I've stolen a line from John Piper for a while now since I heard it. And he just says, I don't have any categories in my brain that for people that don't think it's interesting when God talks.
Yeah.
And God's talking. That is the Word of God. That's what it is that it's the God of the universe letting us know what happened, and then also letting us see some truths about who He is, and about what He's doing for us, and about what our lives are, and who we are, and who we are because of Him. He just, in such a creative, amazing way, is speaking to us. And so why would we get bored with that? And so I think the people of Freedom Life Church has shown such a desire for that. And I think that that's just the type of church where we're landing. That's not to say that churches that don't preach through a book of the Bible, or places that don't spend 35 weeks doing so, aren't doing good or aren't doing good work. I think for us, our conviction is that we want to see everything from the book from the book of Exodus in this particular case. Like we want to try to see all of it collectively. And again, we didn't cover everything that we could have talked about.
Of course not.
But what we did is we were able to see all, instead of just extracting one section out of the book of Exodus and then leaving it and going somewhere else, it allows us to kind of see this whole thing unfold. And it also, I think, and we've mentioned this, when you preach through books of the Bible, it forces you to have to deal with and talk about things that maybe we would otherwise avoid, maybe not even on purpose. We just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
And
well, because there's certain things in Exodus that aren't very popular, that aren't
right.
things that just stick out to you unless
Right.
you're walking through the entire
and
thing.
so walking through it made us kind of go, okay, well, we do have to deal with the back end of this.
Mm-hmm.
And so how are we going to deal with all of this, detail about how to build a table? What are we going to do with all this? Why is this here? What's God trying to communicate? Why did he put it in here?
Yeah.
And I think that's a good question, and we need to think about it, because if we all view the Word of God as the Word of God, as God speaking it, and we also understand that God's not arbitrary, He's not just putting things in there that don't matter.
Right.
Because there's a lot of things that He probably doesn't have in there that we wish were in there. Mm-hmm. Like stupid questions like, does Adam have a belly button? And weird stuff like that we all get riled up about. Well, God doesn't care to answer that, but He is very intentional, and He is a very communicative God to us. And so I think every word that He writes down is important. And so for us to walk through it together helps us to see that collectively. And so I've been very thankful for the people of Freedom Life Church and anybody else that's out there that's maybe journeying with us online. I know that there's a few people out there that don't live here, but they'll go online and they'll listen every single week, and I'll get messages from them, text messages and stuff. Hey man, really enjoyed it or whatever. And that's great. And so for anybody that's journeying with us through it, I think it's just, we want to be lovers of the Word, and we want to love the Bible, and we want to love all of it and really dig into all of it. Mm-hmm. And so, so where we made a lot of jokes about, it's going to take 40 years real time. It's funny, and it's meant to be funny, but I think our ability to just walk through it and really love it and not grow weary of it
right.
is encouraging to me as the pastor of Freedom Life Church, and certainly as a pastoral team for Freedom Life Church. I think we're very encouraged by the heart of the people of Freedom Life to go, we love this. This is so good for us to walk through it. And I've had so many people with encouraging words going, I've never really read the whole book of Exodus, and I thought I knew all of what was there, but I really didn't, There was a lot of things that they learned. There was a lot of things that they saw for the first time, but that's because we choose so often to walk through books of the Bible where, we're going to spend the rest of the fall semester here at Freedom Life not in a book series.
Right.
Not in a book of the Bible walkthrough series. Whereas our next one, I think, is going to end up being Galatians, that will start next year, that will start in the spring. And it'll probably be shorter than 35 weeks. Probably, maybe, we'll see. We took 35 weeks on a 40 chapter book. Galatians has, 6 chapters, I think.
Yeah, so did Ephesians.
We could probably, Ephesians, I think we took 20 weeks. So who knows what will be there. I'm blown away at the heart of the people of Freedom Life. But that's one of the things that we value, and that is that we grow. Mm-hmm. We want to grow. We are committed to growing, and so much of that is because of the implanted Word of God, and that lands on our hearts like a seed and sprouts and grows into life. And I think so many of the people that come to Freedom Life Church are so in on that.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I think we've got a lot of people that are even sad to see it go, And so again, for all the jokes of how long the series is and all of that, I think most of us, if not all of us, are in some way sad to see it go, because we've had such a great time in the book of Exodus, and it's been very, very, very good for us.
Yeah.
And so, it's been awesome, but
cool.
Anyway.
Well, if y'all missed any of Exodus, it's all on our website. You can go to freedomlifechurch.net and check out all of our resources there. We have all of our follow-ups and all of the sermons. You don't have to catch up anymore. It's just looking at it, right? And so there's no catching up. It's just seeing it. If there is maybe some that you missed that you want to go back, we have them all archived there. And so make sure that you check out any of those. We have youth coming up this Wednesday along with life groups. If you're like, hey, I have kids, drop them off here at the church. Life groups are Wednesday at 7 o'clock, and you can drop off your kids here about 6:30, and we will be here ready to go. We have the Freedom Kids going and our FLC student ministry going, and we are just so happy to be able to kick off life groups. I know that started last Wednesday, but we're very excited for life groups this coming semester, and excited what the Lord's going to be doing, not only with the life groups, but with the upcoming sermon series and everything that's happening in the youth ministry. We are excited for the fall semester for Freedom Life Church, so make sure that you're not missing out on anything. We would encourage you, anything that we have going on, be there, and so that you're in community with each other. And so we're going to have a great time this semester. I hope you enjoy all of it with us. And so we love you guys, and y'all have a great week. Bye.
See you.